Hello and welcome to Gravitas Plus. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay and I'm here to talk to you about the United Nations, a body that is progressing from failing to failed. If you've been following the news at the right places, you'd be aware that the 75th UN General Assembly session took place this week. The most unconventional, perhaps one of the worst in the United Nations history. The UNGA this year was largely an exercise in Zoom diplomacy, a series of pre-recorded videos, world leaders speaking from their office desks. Some used the forum to campaign for an upcoming election.
In the United States, we launched the most aggressive mobilization since the Second World War.
Some others tried their hand at comedy.
China is the largest developing country in the world, a country that is committed to peaceful, open, cooperative, and common development. We will never seek hegemony, expansion, or sphere of influence.
The UN Secretary General couldn't be more confused.
No one wants a world government.
To be honest, no one really does. Because the United Nations has become a platform for countries to abuse each other, a forum for world leaders to impress their domestic audience and tell others what to do. They come, they quarrel, they lecture, and life goes on. Now pause for a moment and ask yourself, why was the United Nations formed? The UN website lists a few points. I'm sure most of you will recall studying them in your civics textbooks. The UN's raison d'etre: to maintain international peace and security, to arbitrate armed conflicts, to prevent wars from happening again, and to ensure a better future for the world. Has the UN delivered on these lofty promises? The short answer is no. The long answer as follows. The UN and its dysfunctional organs have systematically failed to take any decisive action in the world's most troubled regions. Let me start with the most dysfunctional organ, the UNHRC, the United Nations Human Rights Council. Until January this year, this body consisted of the biggest human rights abusers in the world. Cuba, a country famous for arbitrary imprisonment and unfair trials. Venezuela, brutal dictatorship. And China, I don't even need to tell you what China does. It is the most peace-loving, virus-spreading country in the world. Now let's talk about the UNHRC's failures. Monumental. The body has provided cover for some of the world's most inhumane regimes. The UN has, in similar fashion, stood by during episodes of genocide in several parts of the world. Rwanda, Congo, Cambodia, Yugoslavia, the list is long. The body has failed victims of genocide way too often. UN peacekeepers usually enter the scene after a conflict has ended, or thousands of civilians have been killed. In some cases, UN peacekeeping missions have been themselves found guilty of the most horrendous crimes. And that's not all. The United Nations has failed in another core mission: solving disputes. Be it the decades-old Israeli-Palestinian conflict or the ongoing civil wars in Syria and Yemen, UN missions have gone to these countries and failed to deliver. Which United Nations body is tasked with solving these disputes and conflicts? The UN Security Council. What has it done? It has given 5 countries disproportionate power. These 5 countries hold the UN hostage. They have the power of the veto, a power that each one of them has misused. Britain and France have misused the veto against Egypt during the Suez crisis. Russia uses the veto against resolutions condemning Syria. Any resolution against Israel is consistently vetoed by the United States. And China uses the veto to block India's bid to ban Pakistani terrorists. It's been 7 decades since the Second World War, and only the so-called victors of this war possess the power of veto, plus China. How is this fair? Why can't countries like Japan, South Africa, and India have the right to veto? More than 200,000 Indians have served in 49 of the 71 UN peacekeeping missions since 1948. 160 Indians have lost their lives serving under the United Nations flag. India is the 4th highest troop contributing country at the United Nations. A total of 6,700 Indian troops are deployed for UN peacekeeping missions. In 2007, India became the first country to deploy an all-women contingent to a UN peacekeeping mission. The formed police unit in Liberia provided 24-hour guard duty and conducted night patrols in the country's most troubled regions. How long can India and the rest of the UN members be expected to follow the decisions and diktats of the P5 nations? Nations like China, which is trying to control the United Nations one post at a time, Beijing has installed its diplomats in key positions across UN agencies. The United Nations has a total of 15 specialized agencies. Chinese officials lead 4 of them. The UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs, led by Liu Zhenmin, China's former Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs. The Secretary General of the United Nations International Telecommunication Union is Mr. Zhao Hulin. China is using his position to advance Huawei worldwide. The UN Food and Agriculture Agency is run by Chu Dongyu, China's former Vice Minister of Agriculture. The International Civil Aviation Organization, led by Fang Liu, a Chinese official accused of keeping Taiwan out of the loop on Wuhan virus guidelines. Even the UN Board of Auditors, a body that keeps an eye on the account books of the world, has a Chinese board member, Hu Zhejun, the former head of China's National Audit Office. And I haven't even got to the most special UN agency of them all, the World/Wuhan Health Organization, run by the one and only Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. He was once the health minister of Ethiopia. He was accused of covering up an epidemic in his country. China whitewashed his crimes and vehemently backed his selection to the post. He now runs the World Health Organization, and look where we are. What explains Beijing's influence at this global body? Chinese checkbooks. In 2018, China contributed 12% of the UN's regular budget. It is the second largest monetary contributor to the United Nations, and money talks everywhere. China's predatory Belt and Road Initiative is listed among the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Peng Liyuan, the First Lady of China, is a goodwill ambassador of the World Health Organization. UNESCO has appointed her as a special envoy for female education. What about India, the world's largest democracy and home to 1/5 of the world's population? The UN's hypocrisy on Kashmir is astounding. In June 2018, the then UN High Commissioner for Human Rights released a report on Kashmir. The report accused India of human rights violations, but called Pakistan-sponsored terror outfits in Kashmir armed groups. Now look at this headline. A Canada-based Pakistani cleric boasted about his role in this report. He bragged in public about being in constant touch with the UNHRC commissioner while he was preparing this report. If Pakistan, an army with a country, can manage to influence a UN human rights report, then the world should worry. To cut a long story short, the world is at a crossroads today, and the United Nations is redundant. Look around you. There's a pandemic, there's poverty, recession, unrest, civil wars, incursions, expansionism, terrorism, genocides. The United Nations has failed the world in almost every possible way. It is a bureaucratic behemoth that bends to the biggest sponsors. It needs to reform or be replaced. It needs to be in touch with today's reality. It needs to give the due position to today's global players.